Greetings and welcome to the first annual Listener's Choice Awards here on Under Consultation, the Floppies. I am one of your hosts for the evening, hoping to have the energy of a Billy Crystal, but more likely to have the energy of a Bob Hope, as he is today. I am Ash Versus, but I'm not doing this alone. I have someone with me who is the James Franco to my Anne Hathaway.
And it's me shouting at Ash to take the N64's name out of his mother flipping mouth. I am Cliff Foster, aka the Amazing Cliff, and this is it, our first ever Viewers' Choice Awards. Now, in the past, on the previous adaptation, Luke and Ash did an end of series wrap up. They were sort of very similar to this, but this is very, very different because this isn't them telling their point of views or me and Ash telling our points of view. This is what you've got to say and your real highlight of the last year.
Absolutely.
And what this shows us is that we have done something to make at least one person smile, because I tell you what, bruh, everything has at least been someone's highlight this year. At least everything has been someone's highlight.
We actually said previously on Under Consolation and elsewhere that everything got a vote. This is not technically true. Everything got at least one vote except one episode. And apologies, if you're a fan of GamePro TV, clearly you weren't enough of a fan to vote for the bloody thing.
Nope.
But GamePro TV did not get a single vote. Video Power got more votes. And by that I mean at least one. But no one voted for GamePro TV.
Do you think that's because that was the only episode that Luke was on as a core episode? Do you think that's maybe what tipped the scale with that? Because they're very similar shows, aren't they?
Maybe. I mean, also there was the wrestling connection as well because it had WrestleMania Challenge. But
oh yeah, true.
But I'll be honest. I think Video Power getting votes proves what we've known all along: is that art equals suffering, and suffering equals art.
Oh,
and boy, howdy! Like GamePro TV may have been one long advert, but Video Power, that was suffering. But yes. Let's do a quick check-in with the chat. Who's joining us live in the stream tonight? I can see we've got Peter Darren Jones. Welcome. He can't wait to watch. Hopefully he's still there and having a good time. We've got Matty Boo saying Heidi Hi Campers. Andy is there. Peter Sidden is there. John Mell is there. Sean is there. Luke is there. Super sexy Dave Fisher is there. And people are dressed to the nines. Now, Cliff, like, did you not have a suit? You're wearing a hoodie. You're doing an Adam Sandler or whatever it was.
Excuse me. This isn't just a hoodie. This is a UCP hoodie. The UCP fight.
Great for audio content, merch? Cliff. Great. Where's my merch? My merch is in the post. Teaser. There we go. But also other people are dressed up. Apparently Dave Fisher is wearing his tux. Matty is wearing his dress. John Mayle is wearing a nice slingback Vera Wang. Not lately. And Pete Sidden says, oh, that's a shame. I think he's referring to GamePro TV, not John Mayle's choice in designer. Now, it's going to be impossible to say that the outcomes of this survey won't influence us in the future, because obviously when we started again last year, almost everything changed, apart from the core concept of podcast about video game television, except instead of just one subject matter throughout the entire year, we were going to different times and places every month. The good news is actually we don't have to make many changes, because we've actually already planned out most of 2025. And what the poll has told us is that we're doing okay. Yeah. We've not peed anyone off. No one stormed out. Tommy Tallarico may not speak to us ever again. Not that he spoke to us in the first place. But don't worry, Cliff, because you know what? His mother's very proud. His mother's very, very proud.
And who we're really proud of is you lot. You. Yes, you. Not you, but you. We really thank you so much. This is from the bottom of our hearts for everyone that's listened, especially those who have voted. Thank you so much. It means so much to us. And on that note, I think we need to go through these categories. And I think we need to start with something a little extra.
Yes, the focus extras, or the extra focuses. We kind of switched it
Did we
around
decide
depending
on a
on.
name?
Well, no, I think the first one is the focus extra, and then if we have 6 episodes in the month, it becomes the extra focus. But these are all the episodes that are released in addition to your core Prime episode, UCP extra for the Patreons, and focus episode. These are basically the 5-week month episodes, or the ones where we've had a chance for an interview, or we just had something cool to talk about. We've had all 3 of those, and that's the category these fall under. And in 2024, we had a handful of interviews. We had some extras for the 5-week months. We had a roundtable with myself, you, and Luke talking about Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, and that was very cool. Cliff, were there any favourites of those of yours?
I think, we're going to go on some of them in a minute, but I think that the Mr. Robertson interview especially was one of my faves, just because I had no doing in it. So I could listen to that back, and I think that was the first episode I could listen back to as a previous fan of the show, then host, and now host, obviously. But it was the first one that I could actually just go, do you know what? Gotta listen to Ash. Yeah, I'm gonna listen to Ash talk to somebody else. And it was got to admit, one of my favourite episodes of the whole year. I think it really was.
From a point of view, it's probably one of my favourite interviews in just how easy it felt. Definitely up there in the top 3 that I've done, not just for UCP, but in the past, I don't know. I did a couple of interviews when I was doing the radio gig, so past 20 years. Like it was very easy, very natural, and quite sexually charged. There was sexual tension. He was sexual and I was tense. Yeah, so that was great. I think from my perspective, the Steaker interview, purely because it was great to have the perspective of someone who grew up in a different country with a different gaming culture, who could offer us some first-hand perspective on what was going on there. 100%. And that it was also a personal favourite because that took some scheduling. All the love in the world to the dude. He's got a lot going on in his life, and I really appreciated him making the time to make that happen. That was a lovely thing, and just really, really nice.
What I love about that episode as well is that it was just meant to be that he was going to come on for a segment in the core episode. He was meant to just be part of that core episode, not maybe to the extent of Andy when we did our December core episode, but he was meant to be like a talking head in that. But instead, it became its own episode, and I think that adds a little bit to that episode, that it became its own entity. And it's a time capsule of itself. And, who'd have thought that we would be covering the Portuguese knockoff market like that? And I mean, this is this is the difference between, let's say, what you were doing before and what we do now, is that we can't just go, okay, we've got the basic notes, let's just add a little bit on. Every month, every episode, it'd be that core extra, focus extra, whatever. That every single episode that we do, we start afresh. And it's only now, this year, that we've started to really go, I've got notes for this, and that's the great thing. To have people like Steaker on board that have that first-hand experience, that saves a lot of time and effort.
Absolutely. And also, as you said, we're revisiting a few things. I'm going to say now, I think we've scheduled a couple of revisits this year just because it takes the pressure off a bit. There's a lot of research to do every time. But shall we crack on and see what people voted for?
Let's do this. Oh, yeah. The nominations are...
Oh, you fucking clown. From February, a sexually charged interview with Video Game Nation host, comedian, keeper of the Darkroom, and Chaos Monkey, John Robotron Robertson. From May, a look at Street Fighter animated movie. No, not the good one. It's Street Fighter 4, The Ties That Bind. From October, something wicked this way comes. Oh, it's just Tails. It's our episode on an episode of Sonic the Hedgehog Sat AM. And also from October, an interview with Portuguese retro gamer, YouTuber and content creator Stika, where we talk about the console wars in his home country.
Effortless there.
So before we get on to any discussion nominations, we're talking about how to break up this stuff, and I'm just like, because I wrote the little summaries for the nominations, and I'm like, Clip, you just say, and the nominations are, and then I'll just roll into it. And we get to there, and I'm like,
I realised that I thought you were waiting for the video to go, and then I went, oh yeah, I'm meant to say the bit, aren't I? Say the line, Clip. Oh dear. But before we go into me too hard. Let's
that's what she said.
Let's talk about some of those nominations, because Sonic Sat AM that month we were looking forward to so much.
Oh yeah, the Halloween month, Sega Shocktober.
Yeah, and I was so excited that I could do a Sonic Sat AM. And the thing was, I went ballsy and tried to get someone on the podcast for it. And I don't know, it was weird, because I came to this episode and that person declined, and they were very polite about it and stuff like that, but they said no. And I then came into that episode and I was a bit deflated about it. I'd written like 99.9% of that whole episode, and I just came into it a bit deflated. So I don't know. I was surprised to see it in the top.
Yeah. I the only one of the nominations that didn't surprise me was the Robotron interview, because I know that was popular. No, I just know it was popular. It was very well received. But the other ones in there, seeing Street Fighter: The Ties That Bind in there, that was cool. That was an interesting look from a comedy point of view. That was one of my favorites.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it was also really nice to see the Stika one reach that top 4. And I can say, as I said, there was only one episode across everything we did last year that didn't get a vote. And for when it came to the Focus Extras, for the most part, things were evenly distributed.
Apart from one thing.
Apart from one
that we should talk about now.
Shall we reveal the winner?
We shall. And the winner is... It's only that Mr. Jonathan Robertson. There he is. Outright winner. Like, not even just winner. He was an outright winner. Like we were looking at the scores, and I kept checking in with Ash to see where the scores were at. To say that he led that pack was a bit of an understatement.
To say that he got more accumulative points than the second and third place put together. To say that actually it was the highest scoring episode across all categories. Like, if we had a 5th category of overall winner of best episode of the year, it would be that one. But you know what? I would love to take credit for that. But genuinely, John made it easy. Yeah. John is such a consummate professional, so much fun, and he immediately lets you know where you're at, like what's going on, what tone. He lets you set the tone, and then he brings as much as you can handle. And turns out I was built for endurance. So there we go.
So shall we move on to the next category?
Let's move on to the next category, because we're going on to a category now that is on our main feed. It's out every month. It's our focus episodes, our deep dive episodes into content that is appropriate to the Prime episode. We look at games, we look at systems, we look at magazines. For Christmas, we focused on Bullseye. Yeah, the British darts-based game show with Jim Bowen and an anthropomorphic animated bull. That is the odd one out, but it's a scientific fact, Cliff. You can't beat a bit of bully.
You
And
can't beat a bit of bully.
And it was one of yours as well. It was one that you were just like, yes, we're going to do Bullseye, and it had Mike Reed on it. So I'm about to ask you what were some of your favourites, but I get the feeling the answer will be Bullseye, and then Bullseye.
Well, I took the bull by the horns and really went with that one, but I think it was that first one on the PC Engine. I think for me, because it was a completely new concept. Like, we were like, bugger, how is this gonna land at all? Is this gonna be one of those things we go, okay, let's scramble around, think of something new? Because, before a show had even started of this new era, we had it in our minds that we wanted to do these deep dives. And, to go into something like the PC Engine and obviously Bonk, there is that element of that this is quite a big thing for us. We're talking about a mascot that doesn't get spoken about a lot. He doesn't really get the limelight like a Sonic does or a Mario does.
He doesn't.
This dude,
And it was great to talk about. I mean, obviously, like so many of the things that we covered last year, they didn't impact over here on the Western market as much, particularly in the UK, where the PC Engine, TurboGrafx, whatever you want to call it, it was abandoned and never saw an official launch outside of some importers. But for me, it was terrifying because I remember when we were getting towards episode 200 of the original run, and I was doing pitches and suggestions for what we might do more of, or how we might phrase it. And I knew one thing, because I think even before I'd invited you, you came on board as a host. I'd said, we're not doing 4 public episodes a month. Like that's too much. It's especially if we're doing more varied shows, it will literally kill us. So I had the idea, and I think I pitched it of, well, we'll do 1 episode a month on a TV show, but then there'll be another episode that will be like a focus. I think I even used the word focus to begin with, but it was the idea of doing a deep dive in.
Well, me and you had a discussion about it. I remember I was going to, I think it was the day I recorded with Biffo. So it's still not come out yet, but I did the recording with Biffo. It's still not come out yet. It should be out later this year for everyone to look forward to. But I remember being on the train and you were like, Cliff, I'm going to go to Luke with this idea. What do you think of it? And I remember you saying, like, free feed, extra, focus, and the UCN as the 4th one. And I remember you sort of touching base with me before you even went to Luke with the idea. So it was, it's good because it sort of vindicates it, because I said at the time it was a good idea. You came up with the idea. You obviously knew it was a good idea.
No. I don't think most of my good ideas are good ideas. I still don't, because every month when we come to do a focus, I do have this moment of, how are we going to do this one?
Yes, especially the one we haven't recorded yet. We need to figure out how we're going to do that one.
I've worked it out. I've fixed that.
Fantastic.
I fixed that. It won't need to be fixed. In fact, the PC Engine one, which you mentioned, was one of a number that were fixed in the edit, because we recorded it and we didn't know how it would be structured. And I actually did, if I remember correctly, I completely changed the running order of what we recorded and recorded some, I ADR'd it. I recorded some additional linking sentences so the revised timeline made sense, because it was just as I was editing it, I was like, oh, okay, no. If this goes there and this goes there, then that means it flows nicely. And then that set the template for pretty much all the focuses to come.
Even like focuses that we've had this year, I think if it wasn't for that first one, they wouldn't have flowed as well. And I really do think that. And as I said, we've been really lucky with what we covered. The MSX, that was a really good episode. I really enjoyed that. I like a lot of the episodes that we dive into that I don't really know too much about as well. I love
Because
that.
you don't get much to do. You don't have to do a lot of work. It's all on
but at the
muggins
same
here.
time, I sit here as flipping like pupil, like and it's quite nice. But yeah, no, it's been a ride. It definitely has with the focus episodes, and they are something that I look forward to every month now.
That's good. That's really nice to hear. I mean, I look forward to it because I love a bit of research. People who are regular listeners and who've talked with me about stuff will know I do like a nice bit of research. So,
well, let's see what everyone else liked a little bit of by looking at the nominations.
Well done. Have a cookie. From July, what if Resident Evil, but with dinosaurs? We faced near extinction with the PS1 title, Dino Crisis. From September, lock and load, we pick up our pink pistols and point them at each other with a deep dive on Time Crisis. From November, big in Japan, middling everywhere else, a look at the rise and fall of the MSX and its refusal to stay dead. And from December, it's super, it's smashing, it's great, it's our UCP Christmas special on an episode of the darts-based game show, Bullseye.
You're smashing those, aren't you?
It's almost like I'm good at my job, Cliff.
I ain't. But anyway, no. I do you know what? I forgot all about Dino Crisis and Dino Crisis and Time Crisis. I forgot all about them. Until I saw that and I was like, oh yeah, they were focus episodes. Like that Dino Crisis episode, the amount of Dino Crisis I sunk into, it was incredible. And I tried with Time Crisis, but then I had to use a mouse and it wasn't as fun. I really wanted to use a light gun.
If anything, Time Crisis doesn't work with a mouse because it's too easy at that point.
Was.
Because, mouse hand-eye coordination. Mouse hand-eye coordination, it's almost like we've had like 20 plus years of practice at mouse hand-eye coordination. Dino Crisis, like you, I sunk a lot of hours into. I remember playing it on the train under emulation on the Vita.
Yes.
And I remember getting jump scared by the T-Rex in the middle of a train. I just like, oh, you son of a dick. Absolute son of a dick.
I mean, that was really, really cool because I'm a big fan of like the Resident Evil games. And to go back and play that and, and sort of learn about like them going, we're going to make completely 3D backgrounds. And you go, oh yeah, Resident Evil doesn't have 3D backgrounds. Like, it's just there's so many little obvious things like that. And it was a great game to play. And as I said, with the MSX, I said that before, like the learning of the MSX and the, we had the BBC Micro episode as well. There's so many great focus episodes this year.
Yeah, I was very surprised. I thought Dino Crisis would be in there.
Yeah.
Like before the votes start coming in, I'm like, yeah, I think Dino Crisis will be in there. I thought Bullseye would be in there because the Christmas specials are always popular. It's when we go off topic, and this year it just happens that because of the change in format, it sat in the focus episode slot. Mm-hmm. I've got opinions on that, and I think maybe we need to revise how we think about that in the future.
Yeah, I think I've got something to say for that in a minute.
Yeah, but yeah, and seeing the MSX one rank so highly because again, not very big. Like Bonk didn't make the top 4. I think PC Genjin was about 5 or 6, maybe. So did well, but I think the episodes where we're covering stuff that people don't necessarily know about, where people get a bit of like educational. There we go. We don't just do knob gags. We do education as well.
We do education with a splash of knob gag.
Phrasing. But Cliff,
anyway,
that's the nominations.
Let's see who the winner was. It's a Bullseye! The winner for the focus, Floppy! 2024 Bullseye. I've got opinions, and I think you might be agreeing with them. Next year, I love it that everyone loved that episode. Don't get me wrong, I love it, and that's why I did the episode. I knew that there was lots of lovely things to talk about. It was a joy to record. However, I think maybe next year we discount the Christmas special from the focus.
I think that might be smart. I actually just had the idea. I'm just going to have a quick look at the spreadsheet, if you will.
I haven't got it.
And no, my results spreadsheet.
Oh.
Okay. If you're sat there and you're going, well, that shouldn't have won. That's not a proper focus episode. Then your winner is the MSX. So there you go. But if, however, you just embrace the fact that we were definitely, I mean, we were focusing on Bullseye. We were very focused on Bullseye.
I would definitely say that had more of a feel of a extra episode that found its way onto the free feed.
It was a Christmas special, man. We knew we needed to do it. I think if we'd had a proper 5-weeker that month, then it would have been, then that's it. Bullseye would have been the 5th episode. 100%. And God knows what we'd have done for the focus, because we've covered pretty much all the Super Nintendo titles featured on Super Nintendo Challenge.
Yeah, because we had...
Maybe we'd have done the history of touch-tone telephones.
We could have done Hugo.
No, because we need to wait until we actually cover Hugo. Hugo is in there. Hugo is in the bank, not that kind of bank. The other kind of bank.
We thought Hugo was that episode. Well, we won't go into that now. That's a core episode. Let's save that. Let's save that, because we've got 2 winners, and we need to go and find out who all of you sexy, lovely Patreons voted for on our extra episodes.
Yes. Well, no, you've kind of skipped ahead now.
Have I?
Yeah, because we talk about the extra episodes, then we do the nominations.
Good point. Ash, extra episodes. They're good fun, aren't they? Ash, they're great fun. Ash.
Yes, they're usually a lighter.
They're really good.
They're usually a lighter edit, almost as light as this edit was meant to be. By which I mean there wasn't meant to be any edit. And sod it, I'm going to leave it like this.
Yeah, leave it in. We're doing this live.
But yeah, our extras are our Patreon bonus episodes. If you're listening and you're a Patreon, thank you so much for your support. It means the absolute world to us. And if you're not a Patreon and you're thinking of it, the UCP extra episodes are what Patreons get every month at all tiers. They aren't just a case of, oh, me and him sit in a fairly raw recording environment and talk about another TV show or whatever. They get the same level of production that we do for our core episodes. So they get the music, they get the clips, they get the running gags. The only thing they don't get is censored. They are always uncensored, apart from 2 occasions when there was a joke where even after one of us had said it, we were like, yeah, cut that. The Lyndhurst estate may be listening. Cut that.
Well,
I don't really think he banged a Robin Reliant, so cut that.
Let's go on to that episode, because it has turned into such a running gag now. Like,
especially for you.
Yeah, I've got an emoji of him now. Like, literally, because somebody who really doesn't, to my knowledge, doesn't listen to our show, or if they do, I don't think they're a patron. Mr. Odd Trots, or Ed Trots, or John, he came into my chat and went, Doesn't Indiana Jones look a little bit like Nicholas Lyndhurst? And I was like, meh, that was it. And that was it. It was like, and it's now, because of this show, become such a running gag. It has become such a running gag of, it's just literally, we could just be in pure silence and I just go, Gary Sparrow is a bit of a dick. And like, it's like, that is it. Like, it's become such a thing.
So I'm guessing that Goodnight Sweetheart is probably one of your favourites, Em.
It was, because obviously it's one of the ones I took the lead on. But I think the Thomas episode, because yeah, it was our first extra that we did as me being like the main timeline. But I don't know. I ever thought that the Thomas episode was going to be so much fun. And then on the opposite side of things, where that was just hilarity, the complete darkness and dismalness of Barney. Like, who'd have thought that Barney the dinosaur would be our darkest episode we've done this year?
It kind of was. The Barney one was definitely dark. Thomas is a favourite of mine because I love Thomas the Tank Engine. I love like some trains, particularly fictional trains. Hello Tokyo Joe, that's currently our current pair of UCP extras. But I also loved Thomas because like that was bad. Like, it was a great episode, but we were horrible. We were so mean.
I remember just watching through it the first time, and it was just constantly saying about Thomas trying to relieve other trains of their heavy load. And that was it. I mean,
Special coal.
Special coal. James got a rub down. It literally just turned into this. Oh my god! And that Cranky couldn't lift Thomas's heavy load. Like,
Yeah.
it just became like, honest to God, like the first time I watched the episode, I was crying with laughter, and it was just from a thing of me going, Thomas the Tank Engine got its first ever 3D episode.
And I was like, sold, absolutely sold. And also my running
episode.
My running kind of thing of like Thomas the Tank Engine is just the human centipede for children.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. We actually covered some really great iconic children's TV shows because we also had Henry's Cat.
That one was, I still remember to this day, like we were discussing what we were going to do, and I threw a couple of ideas at you, and you were like, yeah, they're America. This is very much concentrated this month in England. We need to think of one from England. And I remember being sat in St. Mary's Stadium and getting a boom and looking at my phone, and you went, last episode of Henry's Cat. And I was like, did it? How is it airing like this long afterwards? How is this the case? And yeah, no, it was a surprise curveball. And the research into that and the other animations and everything like that, that was joyous. I remember one evening we sort of sat here and we were having a conversation, and we were pinging each other links as we were doing our notes. That was a really nice combined one as well, because I think both of us really enjoyed the research on that one.
Yeah, definitely. And I grew up, I'm a big fan of Henry's Cat growing up. And it was a series I shared with my younger siblings as well. So that was nice to cover that. And again, it was like, how is that still airing at this time? What the hell is going on? That must have ended way earlier. But no, they took their sweet time. That's it. They took their time.
And talking about, lastly, before we go on to nominations, and I announced them very professionally, like I've done every single one so far.
It's been flawless, Cliff. Absolutely flawless. And ceilingless and wallless. It's basically a wreck.
We can't talk about the extra episodes without talking about certain food type, because we're talking about running gags. Buttered eggs.
Oh, you...
The box of delights. One before we go into the buttered eggs bit. Box of delights. I am so happy that is now in my life. I've got it on Blu-ray so I can watch it every Christmas. I am so happy. I did not know that was a thing. Amazing. Right, Ash, you now defend yourself against the people of Ireland. I'll go over here a minute.
Well, no, because of course, not everyone listening to this will be a patron. So to explain, we did an episode, the first episode of the classic children's television classic children's literature adapted into television by the BBC in the 1980s. The Box of Delights, starring Patrick Troughton, amongst others. And in that, there is a reference to buttered eggs. Now, buttered eggs are not just eggs cooked in butter like a fried egg or whatever. Buttered eggs are specifically a way of preserving eggs by you take an egg, fresh. How fresh? Basically, you need to have a catcher's mitt and be under the chicken's cloaca. That's how fresh it needs to be. And then you cover it in butter. And what it does is the butter seeps into the still soft and warm shell. and it preserves it. It's basically almost like pickling it, kind of in that sense, or kind of the rind on a cheese, or or the thing. Yeah, exactly. But it doesn't just protect; it also infuses the egg with a buttery taste, as if you had fried it in butter. Now, in times before common refrigeration, it was very, very common at that period in history. Stop giggling, you dick. A way to do it, particularly in Ireland. Ireland is partly where the entire thing originated from. And there's also other things to do with butter in Ireland. There's bog butter, Google it. Incognito tab, just in case. And I just said, and I did my research online. I found at least 3 different sources that said this, that they are still available in a certain market in Ireland. And we got a plethora of Irish listeners and other listeners messaging Irish friends going, they've never heard of it. And I'm like, well, one, they're still available. And also, when was the Box of Delights set? Unless they're really, really freaking old. No, they might not have heard of it. Because last I checked, most people in Ireland have a smegging fridge.
They could have a smeg as a fridge as well.
They can.
They do. They can.
They can have a smeg fridge and keep their smeg in a fridge next to the buttered eggs.
Oh, you don't want to get them muddled, do you?
You've got your buttered eggs, your bog butter, and your knob cheese.
And on that note, I don't really know how to segue this, but let's have the nominations.
See, I'm not ready for it now because you had me have to go and defend myself on buttered eggs.
Does that mean that I can berate you, does it? Does that mean I can berate you, Mr. Persis?
No, it doesn't. He's creaky, he's cranky, and he's ready for a special load. It's January's episode on Thomas and Friends. Our first extramentary for March, Cliff and I have a chat about Doctor Who, and then provide a full-length commentary track for the Caves of Androzani. From June, it's another time traveller, and this one's a proper shagger. Gary Sparrow faces his own personal D-Day as we cover the series finale of Goodnight Sweetheart. And from October, as part of our Sega Shocktober series, we go back to the X-Files with Jack Black, Virtua Fighter, and DPO.
Wow, yet again, until watching that, I forget X-Files. That was such a big episode for me, like for my little episodes that I do for the extra. Oh, I loved that episode so much. Like to the point of where we were seriously thinking, do we do an X-Files episode, like as episode by episode?
I mean, they are very, like, X-Files are safe things to do as episodes go. You know, it's not that they're easy. It's just a case of, we know we'll have a good time with it. You know, as long as you stay away from, what is it, Across the Sea, the one where, stay away from that, or ones where like it's basically just Mulder being tortured for an entire episode. Or I think Tombs might be a difficult one to do giggles about, any of the Eugene Tombs ones.
Did you not do a Tombs one?
Do you know what, we might have. If we did, well done to us, because I mean he's a serial killer kind of.
Yeah, well, yeah, he is. Just licking. Literally, I just got this image of somebody licking paper, and just sticking on things. That goes there.
It's another way of preserving eggs, Cliff.
But it's nice to see that. And another one was, we tried something new last year as well. And it's something that we will be doing 100% this year. And that is a watch-along episode. We did that Caves of Androzani. That could have been very much a different episode, because we did have another episode in mind. But I'm so glad we did that. It was just, one, it was a good episode. Two, you had some funny bits like the soup dragon attacking people. But it was just such a lovely episode of Doctor Who to cover, and it's one that we both enjoy.
Yeah, I mean, we do have another watch along, extramentary coming up. It will be actually our bonus episode, our focus extra episode for May. What it's going to be upon, will be decided this Friday as part of our Twitch stream on WWE 2K25, where me and him will be in person. And the finale of that will be a ladder match.
That floppy.
For the UCP case, and that UCP case holds the keys to that May episode.
It has
Cliff, I'm
got secret.
I'm going to win that match, and you're going to watch a goddamn Ewok movie.
No, I wasn't even implying that, because I'm going to win the keys to that stream. I'm winning the keys to that stream.
And then you're going to make me watch a Southampton match.
Yes.
One of the recent ones. It'll be like a Clockwork Orange. It'll just be like, no.
To be honest, it'll be more me sobbing in the corner. And I can see you in the chat. No yub nub. We'll see. John Mel, David Fisher, Matty Boo Twitches. No yub nub. No yub nub. But I was actually indicating another episode that we have planned. There is another watch along as well. Did you not forget there is a big episode coming this year? A huge episode that's going to be a watch along.
I have actually forgotten it, to be fair.
I can't give you any indication because
no, that's
you can
fine.
See me and
yeah, don't worry about Cliff. Look, I've got the smegging spreadsheet. I'm more worried about the stuff that's more in the immediate future.
Well, you've got the smeg in spreadsheet as well as the smeg in the smeg, so that's lots of smeg. Yeah. So can we just be careful how much smeg is on this stream? Football Talia is, Matty, Football Talia is definitely on my radar. Don't you worry. Don't you worry.
Here's the thing, Matty. I would genuinely love to watch Football Italia because I watched Football Italia on Channel 4 in the 90s. That was at a point, that was a level of football that I really enjoyed. But if you ask me to watch modern club level football, no. Like even a good team, never mind Southampton. The best thing is, I've seen you complain so much about their performance this year, you can't even defend that statement.
No, we are still on to be having the worst season ever in the Premier League. If we won one game, to be honest, we will be the second worst. So anyway, let's not turn this into the Cliff uses you lot as counsel for bloody. Yeah, I love Bash the Beast 2000. That's
no! Oh God, no!
I once watched Halloween Havoc. Oh God, it was with Warrior and Hogan. Was that 98, 97? Anyway, I watched that as a watch along before, and I got very, very drunk.
Anyway. I'm not going to lie. I love wrestling, but any of that late era WCW, that would be tough. If you pick anything from before that, I'd be fine. But that late era stuff, the creative control, just no.
No.
Just no. So there you are. You may be onto something there.
Yeah, no, that would be. Yeah,
Dave Fisher, you masochist saying Heroes of Wrestling 1999. You absolute sad masochist.
Anyway, let's bring this back to extras. So let's find out who won. And let's just hope we don't see any more, dickheads like Hogan in the chat. Maybe, probably. Because the winner is... It's that bloody dickhead himself, Gary Sparrow. Yes, the final episode of Good Night, Sweetheart.
A decisive winner, but I will say that it wasn't that much between the top two. But there was something about that gaslighting bigamist prick. And I will say, look, I've got nothing against Nicholas Lyndhurst, unless he is like some massive Nazi. I've nothing against him. I mean, he did like World War II memorabilia in Goodnight Sweetheart, but the character did. But Gary Sparrow is a character. Like it's aged like milk in the sun. It's aged like stale Greggs.
We say like
aged like it's aged like World War II rations as they are today.
We talk about Big Macs will last longer than those. But I tell you what, do you think it's actually... Now, I'm not saying this is a big-headed way, but do you think it's us rather than the the episode itself, because I think if you watch it as an episode, you'll get really angry at it. But you've got two blokes that are getting on a bit that are just shouting at a bloke that's time traveling between time, going, "Ha! Serves you right, you dickhead." Do you think that's really what made the episode?
Possibly. I mean, that is just like watching television with me, and I'm sure it's the same with you.
Yeah, to be honest, it is.
It's like watching actually a lot of things with you. I still remember, although actually I still remember getting you in trouble at Digitize Alive. Biffo and Sanj thinking it was you. And it wasn't. It was me impersonating you.
But
it was me impersonating you.
But if it was anything, I did then accidentally spill a drink over you, so it's all fine. It was like instant karma.
I didn't know which extra I expected to win, but when I saw it was Goodnight Sweetheart, I'm like, yeah, that tracks. That makes sense. That feels like a good one. And I'll be honest, there are lots of other time traveling shows I'd love to do. I'd love to do Quantum Leap at some point. That'd be great. An episode of the David Troughton, I think it was David Troughton, starring Time Busters, the kids' game show.
Life on Mars. If we go to that era, that will be a great one to do.
That would be an interesting one. If you want something terrible, Crime Travelers.
Yeah.
That's summarily awful. What else? Wasn't there a Time Cop TV series as well? No, Time Tracks. That was it. There was the American Time Tracks. But yeah. I mean, time travel is fun to do because it's like so few shows do it well.
But the major thing is that the extra has always been that thing that I look forward to booking. Like, there's always like things that I've got, like, I will try and shoehorn it in. If I could get Space Precinct in there, I'm going to get Space Precinct. If I could get a Farscape episode in there, I'm going to try and get a Farscape episode. But I've got to admit, we have pulled out some doozies this year. Like, and there were ones that missed the cut as well. There were honestly ones that missed the cut. Like, Goodnight Sweetheart had, what was that up against? Was it the last episode of Bruce's Cards Are Right? Was it that?
Yeah, I think it was something like that. I think that one, it was also a case of, can we find it?
Yeah, there was just a couple of like episodes where we went, well, we've got this or this. And I tell you what, one that deserves a shout out that we haven't spoken about, and it wasn't in that top 4, is definitely Popular Mechanics for Kids. I will go to bat for Popular Mechanics for Kids. That was a great episode. I really enjoyed that episode. It was great fun.
I think if nothing else, we enjoyed Popular Mechanics for Kids. That was a holiday for us. That was. Just seeing in chat a couple of other time travel shows being suggested. John Mel with Sliders, great shout. Luke saying +1 for Life on Mars. Matty confirming there was both Time Tracks and the Time Cop TV series. I think Time Tracks ran a bit longer and Time Cop didn't. It was one of those weird ones where, like RoboCop, let's make a PG-13 version. I mean, doing one of the live action RoboCop episodes, that'd be kind of fun. We'll see asking, if you do Quantum Leap, will it be one of the many episodes that Bakula dressed in fantastic drag? I mean, statistically speaking, you throw a dart at the dartboard, you're going to hit Scott Bakula in stockings. Cheadle is a little gutted Captain N didn't make the shortlist. But Captain N would be from before.
Yeah.
We didn't do Captain N this year, did we?
No, that wasn't. That was before.
No, you did Legend of Zelda.
Yes,
with Luke.
So maybe that's what I forgot. I did Legends of Zelda. Excuse me, princess. I forgot about that. Super Mario Brothers is definitely, it's going to be on there. Super Mario Brothers show is definitely going to be at some point. 100%.
Yeah, Super Mario Brothers Super Show. Definitely.
Yes. Right. Before we go on to the final category, which is the core episodes.
Yeah.
Because we asked you for your feedback. Because, you know, we care about your feedback. Well, probably. We care about your feedback. So let's see what you guys had to say.
Yep. Up first, we've got Matty, who at the end of his little survey, he put, Gary Sparrow was a dick. Where's the lie? But also that Thomas the Tank Engine review will live rent-free in my head for ages through innuendo alone, alongside the Robotron interview, which felt more like flirting at points. I mean, at points? Like, was it between the opening music and the closing music? Was those the points you were talking about?
That was the point.
Keep up the good work and looking forward to more in 2025. So are we. Like, there's a lot of crap in the world right now, but this podcast is one of the things that I look forward to. There's a few.
Definitely.
And this is one of them.
And let's go on to Tom. And Tom has to say, right, this is going to take, it's a big, long one. He says, the story dictates it.
Which has become my catchphrase over the past year. Of like
We've
you
already
going, why does this
t-shirts.
happen? Why does this happen? Why is this happening? What's going on? That doesn't make any sense. And I will simply go, Cliff, it's because the story dictates it. And that is it. That is why does sometimes bullshit happens in a TV show, and why does it happen? Because the story dictates it. And sometimes that's fine because it's just getting you from point A to B. Where it bugs me, and this is not something we've covered, but it is something that really irritated me, is when it's used to resolve an episode.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to name names, Russell T Davies, Doctor Who return, but sometimes there are moments where it's just a case of, we've run out of time. There we go. MacGuffin fixed, done, bosh, titles. That bothers me. But if you just have to have a situation occur to get the story going, or get from the first to the second, or the second to the third act, that's fine. Cliff, let it go.
I'm fine. I'm usually the one that gets irate about this, but it seems to be you tonight.
No. I mean, I'm irate about it when it's used badly. Like when it's used to basically go, we couldn't think of a decent way to end this episode.
I do love it that we've naturally found some catchphrases over the last over 12 months now. We've come across some real natural catchphrases that sort of just happened. There are things that are coming in the next couple of days or so that you will see, but the thing is when you see shows and they shoehorn something in, it doesn't work. Let's say with not here at the moment, but the occasional other host of this show, Luke Owen. Like when they did Jam That Jam, it just naturally happened, and that's how it got over. And the same with this one. We've just naturally got things like, the story dictates it. That has just naturally become a thing here.
Do you know what else has naturally become a thing here?
Go on.
Yub Nub.
No Yub Nub.
Yes, Yub Nub. Up next, we've got Mystical Machine Gun, a recent listener and lovely all-round fellow who I met via Twitch. He says, as an Aussie, darts are a big part of our culture as well. And so listening to Bullseye was brilliant for the Christmas season, especially since it was all for charity and the Bullseye host and contestants were all so loved up. It gives massive cosy vibes. Had to throw in a vote for Australia's own Good Game as well, so glad it works well outside of our island. Good Game was definitely one of the shows of the year for us, just from actually going... I tell you what, Good Game is in that list of shows that we've got, because we've got them broken down into like how many episodes we've got. Good Game is one of those ones where it's a case of, we're struggling, we know we can probably find a Good Game episode to cover.
I mean, I've got a bit of a crush on Hex and Barjo to an extent as well. Like, I've got a proper man crush on Barjo. I've got a proper crush on Hex in a professional manner, because I think that's the major thing, is how they bounced off each other. But we'll go into that. I'm sure we're going to go into that in the core episodes. But I love them, and I think that I would love to cover more of their stuff. I really would. Even one of the off-kilter episodes, like the ones that weren't part of their sort of main timeline.
Yeah. There's a lot to reach into there, and also it's nice because it covers an era we don't have many other shows for. Do you want to take the next bit?
I can take the next one. Sorry.
That's cool.
Andrew Greenwood has requested. Andrew Greenwood has a request. He asked, could you please try and cover the First Class if the timeline allows? God, I can't talk tonight. Looking forward to what 2025's content. God, I can't talk. Looking forward.
It's a great night to be a podcast host, Cliff.
No. Looking forward to 2025's content. There we go. I got it at the end.
That's what she said.
First Class.
First Class. Yeah, what about it?
What are we talking about? What's First Class? What
First Class is an old game show where video games were sometimes used in the round to decide stuff. Paperboy was a very common one.
Really?
I've got some episodes banked. It's
Ooh.
all about locating the accurate date. In fact, that raises the point. One of the worst things about doing this show has been
Yeah.
finding a whole cache of episodes and it's labeled, first episode, second episode, third episode, fourth episode. And you actually find out that the episode labeled episode 1 is episode 17, episode 2 is episode 5, episode 3 is 28, and episode 4 is an unaired pilot. And it's just basically, this is the order they came off the VHS tape. First Class, unfortunately, is a bit like that. And unlike some of the shows I've had to do kind of reverse engineering on, First Class doesn't have adverts that I can use to go, okay, so that film came out then in America. That's literally how I've time stamped some episodes, is looking at what the commercials are. But yeah, First Class, it will definitely be in and around there. Like if we can make the timing work, that is.
I did fall foul of that last year, didn't I, with the whole bits episode where I was like, right, we're gonna do this, guys. And that's what Henry's. To be honest, though, if it wasn't for that, Henry's cat would not have arrived. Yeah, that was thanks to me and my mess up. We had the Henry's cat episode.
Every cloud clip
has a golden cat.
Sure. But yeah, no promises as to when, but definitely in there. The question IRL up next. See, this is a person that should know what buttered eggs are. But he says, great work this year, lads. The focus episodes were amazing deep dives. I love the selection of shows for extra. Still holding out hope for Due South this year. Oh, me too. Oh, Mountie on the Bounty. Yes, please.
Is that the one where they say, is that the singing episode?
One of them.
Oh, okay.
There's two. There's the one where they're all on the train and they're singing Ride Forever, and I think it's actually called Ride Forever. And then there's Mountie on the Bounty, where it's another two-parter. It's after the second Ray Vecchio comes in, and there's a couple of songs in there, including a really, really bitchin' version of Robert McKenzie. So there we go. Back to the questions feedback. For the core episode, Super Nintendo Challenge came second on account of the amazing backstory about Nintendo in the Nordics. Micro Live came third because it was great to hear about the beginning of the home computer boom. But, and this is giving away what he's voting for in the prime category, Cliff, I had to vote for Games World #1 as that was the show for me growing up. So I'll always vote for it whenever I can. And I'll hold my hand on my heart, even though I was the one that put the survey together. It wasn't until I read that feedback and I went, oh, yeah, we did Games World.
We discussed this before where we completely forgot we did Games World. But you say it's given away what he voted for. But it's so, varied. Everyone, especially with the core episodes, everyone's voted for something different. But
apart from Game Pro TV.
Poor Game Pro TV. Oh, it's just one big N64 advert. I didn't even choose that episode.
But as Peter Darren Jones has said in the chat, N64 is the greatest console ever made. Cliff, you've got a friend in there. Just as well, you ain't got one here right now.
Don't you start. The SNES is better. We can run that. We can go back 6 years and rerun that vote if you want.
I still think you'll lose. Again.
That's where the name of my stream came from, mocking you, going N64 4444 life.
Was it mocking? Was it mocking, or were you in denial?
I wasn't in denial.
No, you were for the poll results.
No, because I feel that if you had it, if you had all of those GameCube votes and those GameCube votes went to the N64, it would have won. It would have won. More people that loved the GameCube would have voted for the N64 over the SNES. 100%. That's the N64 would have still won. And poor old NES. Can we just remember that NES got no votes? Anyway, you can stop reading your book now.
Oh, cool. Thanks. Sorry, I was just checking. I was just checking with Blue Sky. You're finished. You're done now.
Oh, we'll see. Don't worry, that is not a dislove for the GameCube. As you can see, sort of squished down here. There's my lovely GameCube, and I love it dearly.
But anyway, what you got coming up now?
I have got what downstairs or on the comments. I have Reese. He's chimed in with God. The focus was too hard.
1, 2, 3. That's what she said.
Anyway, I wanted to praise the MSX episode as well. Yeah, I've already said I love that MSX episode. Got a lot of love for the BBC Micro episode as well. I'm gutted that didn't make the top 4.
Quizmark Pod up next. He's saying, great show, even though it feels very different to the original UCP, and Ash and Cliff have become a really good duo. Looking forward to another year of podcasts. I'd say the Prime episodes are still kind of similar, but I think we're a different style of hosts together.
That's it. And I remember there was a comment when we first started, and I was a bit more sensitive to these.
Cliff, you never read the comments.
And we had one tweet that came through and pretty much said, it's gonna take some getting used to Cliff because he's not Luke. And look, that might have been from a place of love. However, I've got to admit, if you did make that comment, I did call you some names and pretty much say, look, at the end of the day, I am a very different host. Like, you could take me and Luke, a professional that does it for a living, and me, a literal person that refers to themselves as an idiot on the mic. And I think that's what works with us two. I think that we have... I would say, I'm not saying that you and Luke didn't, but me and you are very easy to giggle at what the other one's saying. Like, we make each other laugh, but then at the same time, we very much have that feel that we can easily take the mickey out of one another. And there's an equal, like, there's always equal. Like, there's not one taking the mickey out of the other more. It's very equal. And it just works because it can go from something so serious to something so silly in seconds. And David Fish just made me really laugh.
Host of the year, Luke Owen. Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest.
He did one episode. He did a core episode. He did an extra episode. He did a focus episode. He did a UCN. He's been here for everything.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not going to argue because out of the three of us, which is the one that gets paid to do this stuff for a living, it's Luke. So yeah,
True
so
that.
no arguments there.
True that.
I think our relationship, like, on podcast, like, has even been in this now. We do antagonize each other, we do roast each other, we do barb each other, but that's on camera. You know, like, we will rib each other a little bit, like in WhatsApp, but there is a performance and there is not.
If it's a giggle at each other, it's a lot more like ha 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 ha, like rather than a theatrical. Let's live off of buttered eggs for the next 6 months.
Cliff, regardless whether it's on or off camera, Ewoks, man. Ewoks.
No yub-nub.
Ewoks.
No yub-nub.
But you've got our last bit of feedback.
I do, and it's from Gordon Dempster. And he says, I've just really enjoyed the wide range of stuff you've covered this year. From the old favourites of mine to the stuff I've never heard of. It's always an interesting, informative, and entertaining listen. And I think that's what makes us, you know, we might be a niche, and we might be a niche of a niche of a niche, but that's what makes us different. Like, there's no other show like ours out there, really, in that aspect of that one day we can cover the BBC Micro, and then the next day we'll be doing Barney the Dinosaur. Like, there's no, like, other podcast that can swing like ours.
That's what she said.
Oh, for God's sake.
No. I think someone, I can't remember who it was I was talking with, and just they'd listened to a bit of one of our episodes, and they were just like, they were really impressed by the production values and the editing and stuff like that. And I said, yeah, we're the best podcast no one listens to. Like, obviously we do. You guys are listening and you're watching out there. And don't get me wrong, we appreciate every single one of you more than I have words for. But, you know, we are niche. But that doesn't mean that we don't care and we shouldn't care. So, you know, I'm immensely proud of the body of work.
Yeah.
I'm especially immensely proud of the body of work of the past year because it has been starting over. And some things didn't go to plan. Obviously, it's been primarily just me and you, and that wasn't the original plan.
Nope.
But we've rolled with the punches as best as we can.
Yeah, and you said it best when we were talking about the quality of editing. You know, because I've got to. It's nice that I can bat alongside you. And I don't think you notice a difference between mine and yours editing. Would you? I don't think that you could notice unless I said it. I do like to talk about it a lot, but unless I said it, I don't think you can tell the difference between a Cliff episode and an Ash episode.
I don't think so at this point. And to be fair, there are some things we've done behind the scenes to try and make that slightly seamless.
Yeah,
but I did just
set up some bits, didn't you?
Yeah, I did have a chuckle at Andy's comment in chat of like, there are similar fever dreams, but no other podcasts. Andy, can we use that? Can we use that as a quote followed by Dave Fisher's UCP is the ultimate cheese dream podcast? Cheese. I am partial to cheese, Cliff.
What, the one that you have in your Smeg fridge next to your Smeg and your
Don't
buttered
ruin
eggs?
cheese for me. Don't ruin cheese for me. Otherwise, I'll break out the hot sauce on Friday.
No. No, Ash.
No, for me, not for you. I'm not going to like
God
sneak.
for that.
How would I like? What would I do? Put it in your tea?
Probably.
I mean, that's an idea. Anyway, let's move on to the last category.
Indeed.
The final category, probably the most important category to a degree. It's the prime podcast. Like, it's the episode which all others spring off of. And this was the part of the podcast that was both the smallest and the biggest change. Because for 200 episodes, we did an episode of Games Master pretty much every week. Sometimes we'd go and do a bad influence, or we'd do a bits, or we'd do... I made Luke watch Starcade. That went as well as you could expect. But for the most part, it was Games Master. The format stayed the same, but suddenly we were going to America, we were going to Canada, we were going to Japan, we were going to Sweden, we were going to Australia. We were going all over the place, and we were going all over time. Like, we've been back to the 1980s, we've been to the 90s, we've been to the noughts. We haven't done the 20s yet.
No, we haven't gone this far forward yet, but we have episodes.
Yeah. And in fact, I can actually reveal that coming up this month, or not this month, sorry, this year, we are going to a decade that this podcast has never touched before. And it's going to be a divisive episode, I think, but it's going to be a conversation piece.
That's what I was saying about the watch-along episode.
Oh, now I get it. Yeah.
I got to tell you about giving it away.
Yeah, I got it. It's me making you watch James Cameron's Avatar.
No, I'd rather watch Yub Nub.
Well, you're not going to have a choice on one of those.
That was going to be our first ever extra, wasn't it? That was going to be something, wasn't it?
I think it was. I think it was a case of you were already protesting not watching Ewoks, and I was just like, no, we'll do Avatar. We'll do it. And you were like, no. And I'm like, well, you got to choose one. But anyway, I'm taking the matter out of your hands at this point because I'm going to kick the shit out of you on Friday.
You're not, though.
Well, I will in the game.
But you won't, though.
But I will, though.
But you won't, though.
But I will, mate.
But you won't, though.
But I will.
But you won't, though.
Shall we move on to the final category?
We shouldn't we? Oh, is it? Let's hear the nominations.
Doogie Rev. From March, it's comfy sweatshirts, BBC Micros and logic puzzles. It's the adventure game. Oh, Canada. Oh, Tommy Tallarico. From September, it's our look at the first episode of The Electric Playground. From Portugal, it's Games Master, but with child-eating machine overlords and hosts in fetish wear. It's October's episode on Cybermaster. And from December, children go head-to-head over the telephone, playing SNES games with touch-tone phones. No, it doesn't really work that well. It's Super Nintendo Challenge.
Now, maybe it's a bit of, time bias. But I am so shocked that Game Center CX isn't in there.
I am, but I'm also not, because it's a great show, but I wouldn't say there was anything. I would say the most memorable thing about that episode was that Street Fighter 2010 music.
Yeah, but then, I think it was. It's weird because I think that the episode that we've definitely done this month and last month are more entertaining. I would say that's a more entertaining episode or double episode than, let's say, Street Fighter 2012. I think, yeah, I suppose you're right. But I'm so glad the adventure game's in there. Literally, on my Facebook the other day, a friend of mine, his brother's husband, turned around, this guy called Daryl, and went, "I'm just really sad that kids nowadays don't know what the adventure game is." And I literally went, and I put a link up to our podcast going, Daryl, have you heard me talk about the adventure game? Here it is. It's Doogie Rev. But no, I just, that was a great episode to watch. And I did the notes of that episode just after the shop that I work in was broken into.
I remember that. Yeah.
1 o'clock in the morning in a shop with glass everywhere, the police walking around, and there's me with headphones on watching that episode, doing my notes. Oh my!
I mean, it's how they intended for it to be watched.
I think so.
I think it's like you know how some people are like, no, you've got to watch my film in the big screen. No, you shouldn't watch my TV show on a phone. It should be watched on a sofa with your family. No, the true way to experience the adventure game is in the middle of a crime scene investigation.
Like literally, there were police walking around, treading around in glass, and there's me going, Ronda, Doogie Rev.
I love doing that because, again, it was one of those ones where it's like, okay, Game Center CX, that was a bit of a departure, but it was still at the core of it, a challenge-based show.
Very similar to
the adventure. Once we got past the adventure game and that was positively received, that was where I was like, okay, we can probably do an episode of Micro Live. I was like, cool, that feels safe now. I will just say on the adventure game, I actually think that this year's ones that we've done, the two-parter with Nosferatu, I think that will be better reflected in next year's one because actually I think the episodes are a lot better.
Mm-hmm. And I think, and also we work a lot better in them. Like, that was our first ever core episode together. I haven't listened back, but I can imagine it sounds very different to what they do now.
Maybe. A little bit. I'd say there's been some tweaks, there's been some tightenings. I think we're both looser now than we were then, but that's aging for you, Cliff. Everything's tight, and before you know it, you're sweeping the street between your legs.
Reese did say in his comment that it's hard for the focuses, so maybe it's loose for the it's hard for the focuses and loose for the core episodes.
Bio on my Tinder profile.
So let's go on to Mr. Tommy Tallarico. Maybe let's not talk too much about Tommy, but obviously the Electric Playground. That was, for me, it's a weird one because it was good in a way because obviously it was him running around, E3, or was it in E3 or was it a Nintendo?
No, it was E3.
It was E3.
Yeah.
And he's running around, and we've got talking Warios and all that going on, and obviously it's very much in the case of that it's the boom of the N64, so it's an era I love, and I've said this in the episode, like, you see Conker's 12 Tales in the background at one point, you see, like, first playthroughs of Banjo happening, so there's lots of things for me and my personal interests. Obviously, Tommy Tallarico's opinions of Star Fox 64 can get in the fucking bin. But it's the same with Dom's opinions of Star Fox 64. I think it's a very safe episode and very 90s episode.
Yeah.
Excluding him.
Tommy Tallarico, like, particularly with more modern shows, there is always the danger that some of the people involved will hear it. Video Game Nation, which I loved covering, and that's another one we will definitely revisit. Not only has John Robertson listened to it, but apparently a bunch of the others have as well. And I'm like, oh God, what did we say? Just in case. But I'm like, do you know what? For the most part, we're normally, even if we rib things, we're respectful. We're respectful. Tommy Tallarico is the only one where, one, I can't be respectful. The guy's a dick. But also I was a case of, man, I know they say there's no such thing as bad publicity, but if he hears this and he takes exception, then, like...
It's nice knowing you guys.
We'll put that one to the test. Because I don't think we said anything libelous or indeed that was untrue. Like,
God, we've taken lesser out of lesser things out of podcasts for more things out of podcasts for less. You know what I mean? It's like I don't think that's a good thing with us. We don't ever say anything to gain any traction. You know what I mean? We don't say anything to gain any traction. The thing that we will always say is usually punching down on people that. It's just general observations. I don't think we've ever sort of punched down cruelly, if you understand.
No, I mean, you're right. We don't do clicks for engagements. It's not like we said Tommy Tallarico, his penis is shaped like a Super Nintendo controller. It's not like we said that, because that is categorically not true. It's got the shoulder buttons. Also, I don't mean like that. I mean sideways.
It's just really long. It's just girth.
But wait until you see what happens when you do the Konami code. But before we genuinely get a lawsuit, I mean, I just say that I know we've been going through saying, oh, what's your favourite? Couldn't do it. I couldn't do it for a core episode because I've loved and hated every one of them equally. I've loved them because I loved getting them out there and getting them into the listeners' ears and for them to listen to them. And I hate them because every time pretty much it's a case of, oh, I hope there's something to say. Like, I hope that this research doesn't hit a dead end. I hope there's... Yeah. And so there's that bit of right up until the point when we record where I'm like, I'm hating this episode. Yeah. And then we record and I get the material to take into the edit and I'm like, cool, we're fine.
It's weird. I think, with the core episodes, it is always a bit scared of, is there going to be someone that connects with this? Because, I think that actually, things like the BBC Micro episode and the BBC and anything like that and the Venture Game, I actually feel more confident with those episodes will find people than us going, okay, we're going to cover this show. Like Good Game, I was a bit like, I love this. I wonder if it's just me being me and no one else is going to love Good Game. And yeah, it's a strange one. Every time we release an episode, I totally agree. It's a bit of like, are we going to find a story here? And are we going to find an audience here? Are we going to lose everybody at this point? Is this the episode?
It's this episode. No, this is the episode where we just lose everybody. But Cliff, I mean, no spoilers. I know who's won, but I'm excited to let them know who's won. Like, yeah, I made all these videos without knowing who the winners were. I just closed my eyes and hit Control C, Control V.
As long as it's not Control D, you're fine.
That's another code. Anyway, shall we find out, Cliff?
Let's find out who the winner is. And the winner is... We're going to Portugal. Yes, Cybermaster from October's core episode. Woo! Where does she keep her sandwiches? I love it. We found out that the host of this show is now a dentist.
Yeah, children's dentist.
I know, it's just the best bit of research we did. Like, we were like, oh, she's an actual dentist now. Nope, that's definitely her. We found a picture.
I wasn't actually surprised that Cybermaster won, because despite being Portuguese, despite being my first fetish video kind of level BDSM wear, it's like instead of CBBS, it's CBDSMs, it's that kind of thing. And despite being in Portuguese and machine translated, subtitled, it is also, as a show, the closest to Games Master. Like legally so close, they're lucky.
But even to the point of the contestants, like, we have had some epic contestants on other shows and people filling segments. These are kids, and they're going up to them with microphones saying, I've given you a nickname. How do you feel to be here? All right. It was just literally season 2 of Games Master all over again. Like, these kids sat there, like the awkward silence as they're playing Need for Speed. Like, it's so Games Master. It's unbelievable. It really is. And it was, it was hysterical. And I think I might love the Cybermaster a little bit more than the Games Master. I think he's definitely got a bit more... I mean, he's got eccentricness to him.
He's got motivation as a character. His motivation is, I want to remove all oxygen from the planet Earth and enslave children. And you know what, Cliff? It's important to have life goals.
He may have eaten kids and had Sega Mega Drives as garnish. We may have identified that as well.
The Mega Drives are like the After 8 mints. You have the kid and you got your little, and then the waiter brings over the Mega Drive and it's just like, oh, it's a wafer thin console.
And then you use the 32X to pick out the remains of your Sonic and Knuckles cartridge.
But that has been the awards.
And what we've learned from you guys, the listeners obviously, is sometimes we got it right, but it really doesn't appear like we got too much wrong. I think that
GamePro TV.
Apart from button eggs, we didn't get too much wrong, really,
low blow.
Did we? We didn't get too much wrong. I hit you right in the button eggs with that one.
I'll slap you upside the Chris Rock. I mean, the one thing that we can say is we didn't get much wrong. That's great. But what we can tell is that it's apparent from the votes and the winners that you guys like, in no particular order, aggressive Anglo-Australian flirting, innuendo, darts, Portuguese models in fetish wear, Nicholas Lyndhurst being roasted, and, of course, video game television. And looking ahead, therefore, at what we've already got planned for 2025, I think we're going to do okay. I think we're going to be fine, because we're sat here beginning of March. We have 7 of the 8. We got 7 months planned out almost completely, and I think that's a pretty good place to be in. And thanks to your feedback, both in this poll and in general, that guides us and lets us know we're going in the right direction and we're covering the right thing.
Completely. Because, and it was one of those things that we went into this I don't know, with our own biases on episodes, thinking that, oh, well, this episode's going to run away with it. And it's just nice to know that no matter our feelings on an episode, it doesn't matter necessarily to what we think. It's about what you guys think. And you might not like a certain episode, but there's equally somebody that will love it right off the back of it. And I think that that's been lovely. And I don't think we're not the world's biggest podcast. We're not
No.
by any stretch of the imagination, but this is definitely the biggest podcast I've ever done. And I've had less negativity about our episodes and less, oh, well, actuallys than I ever have on any other show that I've done. I mean, like, it's just, I say this before, this community is the best community in the world. But at the same time, I just think that to know that somebody is out there listening and enjoys it, that means so much to us. So much.
It does. And yeah, whether you are a listener or a Patreon, just thanks. Like, you guys are the reason we do this. Otherwise, we'd still be talking about this stuff. It would just be to each other. We wouldn't have these microphones or this camera or this recording stuff around us. But that wraps it up for our first ever Floppies. If you're a Twitch watcher, don't forget that from 11 a.m. on Friday the 7th of March, myself and this mad lad over here, we'll be playing WWE 2K25 on Early Access. We won't just be playing it like online, like sat like this. We will be sat next to each other right here, looking at that TV from 11 a.m. And we've not said until when, but I said to you, be prepared, bring your special cushion, because I reckon it's going to be at least 8 hours. And of course, the climax of that will be the UCP briefcase Money in the Bank match between me and him. The briefcase holds the keys to May's bonus episode, which will be our next commentary track. And what's at stake? I'm determined to make Cliff watch Ewoks. That's what's at stake. So it's not that I'm... It's not...
Won't.
Yeah, well, yeah. Cliff, I will. I'm going to win.
You won't. I'm winning the keys to this. I'm winning the keys. To this stream, I am winning the keys to the stream. End of.
Well, let's see if you win the next bit, because now we have to attempt to do our revised outro spiel for the first time and in one take. Because you know the outro spiel we do, where it's like, thanks so much for listening to. Well, of course, this is like the new Patreon era. So I had to rewrite a chunk of this and then send it over to him, and he does his stuff and all that. And so we haven't had a chance to even run through this. So,
oh my God, yeah, I've just noticed all of my bits have changed. Oh God, here we go.
see, in my day job, for while it lasts, and here, no one reads my bloody messages.
I haven't looked through this at all. God, this is going to be disastrous. I'm so glad everyone's here to listen to this live. But we want to say thank you so much for listening. You all rule! And if you could like, rate, review, subscribe, or whatever you do on social media, go and spread the word. It would help us out so much.
Yes, over on social media, you can find us on Twitter at UnderConsolePod, or on Instagram and Threads at under.console, and on Blue Sky at underconsolepod.bsky.social. You can also join our Discord. I know we've got a bunch of Discord people in the chat right now, and it's lovely to see you there, including some relative newcomers. And you can chat with both of us, with all of them, as well as other listeners and fans of gaming and pop culture, both new and old. And if you would like to support us monetarily, if you are able to do so, you can do so over on our Patreon, which we've just refreshed. And pay attention, because these new details aren't in the rest of our March episodes, because we've already recorded them. So this is information that is so new, the other episodes that are coming after this will be out of date.
Yeah, very much so. And at the £1 Starcader level, you get UCP Extra, where we cover period-appropriate bonus content, and Under Console Nation, our monthly community podcast. At the £5 level, which is a Reno's Army, you will get all of the above, plus every episode early, uncensored, and always ad-free. And at the £10 golden joystick waggler gang, I want to say waffle, level, you get all of the above, and you get to be a part of our monthly golden joystick waggler waffle calls.
I don't know what we get. Okay, let's see. Has my internet died or has his? Can we get some feedback in the chat? Because I'm so disappointed because he was doing great. Am I still connected or are you still connected? Oh, the delay's a killer. See, I Am Cheadle says sounds like a fix in the edit. Oh, he's back. He's back. Oh, there was some real drama there. Let's bring him back in. Let's bring him back in.
I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
That was... My computer had a proper epi. Hang on.
Cliff, mate, you were doing so well.
Oh, the computer... It was going a bit mad, so my screen kept on going black and white. And I was like, just hold on until the end of this. And then when I started doing my spiel, it just went bonkers. So we're going to do this as quickly as possible. I don't know what you've said in the interim.
I basically wasn't sure if it was me that died or you that died. But basically, just go from monthly golden joystick waggler waffle calls, and I'll either fix it in the edit or leave this in to prove it was live. I mean, it will always be in the stream.
Hang on 2 seconds. My laptop is now trying to bring up things and trying to crash again. Hang on.
Oh, God. We made it 1 hour and 37 minutes. We'll fix it in post. We'll see, unless I AI generate Cliff's voice, and I'm not sure AI is powerful enough to do that. It can, separate out John Lennon's voice from a rough piano track. I don't know if it can create Cliff's energy. We'll see if we can get him back, just to say goodnight. We'll see if we can... Come on, Cliff. Come on, Cliffaroonie. Come back in. I know I'm still with you. I'm vamping. I'm filling for time. In fact, I'm going to spend this time just talking about the fact that, I'm genuinely excited for Friday's stream. I've been off Twitch for a couple of months. I had to stop just before Christmas because a whole bunch of life changes. And what better way to return to Twitch and that literally just get to sit here with a mate, local co-op couch play, and just have a great time with this guy here. And we'll be using my computer. So hopefully it will be more reliable. Cliff, quickly say the bit from monthly golden joystick. You know that bit. That bit's not changed. Just that and the merch every 6 months. Go for it, lad.
And you can be a part of our Golden Joystick Waggler Waffle calls, where myself and sometimes him will have a lovely, jolly good chat. And if you do become a part of that £10 backer, you will get exclusive merch every 6 months. And that is it. No. And if you are a £10 backer, you get your name read out with these fine folk.
Andrew Greenwood, Andy Smith, Chrissy Two-Sticks, David Palmer, Gordon RD, Harriet Manga Girl, I Am Cheadle, Ian Williams, James Moorhead, Link Campbell, Matty Clark, Matty Boo, Mike Smith, Misha Summerer, Peter Sidden, Reese Wynn, Sean Dunn, Selena BN, Simon, Super Sexy, Dave Fisher, Tom Dillon, McEvoy, Will C, and Xander Thole.
And if we will see you this month for the Game Center CX episode or the extra episode coming next week. And if we don't see you then, and if my computer doesn't crash again, we shall catch you all very, very soon.